Welcome Indrani to BW Wellbeing World.
Thank
It's
you.
so nice that you could make it to our office. Indrani, you just came up with this book, and which has opened up a can of a lot of information, and information that is very tough for somebody to speak of openly, but you chose to do that.
Yes.
What prompted you to do this?
This book is essentially a catharsis. I think it is very important that at some point or the other I did this. So I wrote this book while I was at prison. You are aware that I was at prison for almost 6.5 years. And during the pandemic, which was the lockdown was particularly for the prisons, the lockdown continued for almost 1.5 years. The courts were shut. So that gave me a lot of time really to put my life together on pages, and kind of compile it into chapters, into a book. I did this for two reasons. One essentially being that post my arrest, there was a lot of talk all around, and different people came up with different stories and rumors, and there was of course an entire media trial I went through, which was initially very disturbing. But being from the media industry myself, I knew that all these things happen, and sometimes the news like dog bites man does not kind of catch the eyeballs, get the eyeballs, as it is man bites dog. So I think it was more of that really. They did a man bites dog with me, so which is what I felt, and everybody got their TRPs, and the circulation of papers increased. I'm assuming that, but anyway, yeah. But initially it did affect me a lot. But over a period of time, I think I just left it as just another business propaganda and this thing for the business houses, the media houses, which is fair enough. They have to earn their bread and butter. But it did, yes, initially it did affect me a lot. But at the end of the day, what I also realized that case being apart, it was very important to put out my side of the story. And it is not just my side of the story, it is essentially to put out the truth on record, okay, which is what I've done in this book. And Harbinder, what is also very important, I do believe, and which is why instead of writing something which is loosely based, a fiction loosely based on my life, I chose to write a memoir, because a memoir is always very validated with facts, and it is a validation is done, a check is done even by the publishing house, so you know that whoever reads it knows there is no fluff, because there is always just one truth. There is no my truth, your truth, his truth. There can be only one truth. There cannot be two truths, there cannot be half truths. So this is the truth, and I have put it out. I believe in shooting from the hip.
Got it. And Indrani, since you spoke about truth, yeah, I'm going to keep this conversation more on the human side of what happened with you. And what is the learning from all that you have gone through in your life?
Yes.
So let me begin with the first thing. In your book you've mentioned that you were raped by your father, you had failed marriages.
Yes.
Your mother, though she was by your side all the time, but she did not respond to the situation the way you had felt that she should have.
Yes.
And then you also relied on someone who you felt will stand by you, but in the most testing times that person went missing from your life.
You can name the person.
And also,
Yeah.
while all this happened, you went to the prison and then you had the other inmates who became friends. They were standing by each other.
Right.
So you've seen both sides of
Right.
a relationship.
Right.
What does relationship mean to you now after you've gone through all this? Do you have the belief in relationships? Do you still have a standing faith in relationships, or has it changed?
I think relationships differ from person to person. You know, at least the kind of relationships that I have had. Now, I definitely do not believe anymore in the concept or in the old age saying that blood is thicker than water. I do not believe in that anymore. However, I believe that human beings essentially are good from within. Most human beings, or all human beings. There is, in some people, there is a positive side which is more kind of dominant, and in certain human beings, the negatives are a little bit more overpowering. And also, these negatives and positives, I think, change even in that person based on the circumstances around them, and at a particular time, it could be even in the most normal circumstances that may seem normal to you or me. There may be something that is playing on in that person's mind at that point, which is why I do feel that I was very, very wronged by my father when I was really young. I was very vulnerable and I was not in a position to fight back, right? Because I was young, I was a child. But at the time, when he aged and he was unwell, he was financially not capable of taking care of himself. And when he reached out, I did not do what he did. So I believed that it was time to forgive and it was time to be a good daughter. And a lot of people asked me this question, that how could you forgive him? So, forgetting is one thing, but then I also believe that even people who have wronged you in life, so when you know that that person needs you and that person genuinely needs you, I think it's very, 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 very important to be able to rise above everything else and be in a position to bring yourself to be able to provide the support that the person is looking out for. And I think that is the only way of life. There is no, in my belief, there is no other way that you can lead your life. Which is why I have not lost faith in relationships. Because, yes, I have never lost faith in relationships because it does not matter to me what the relationship is in the other person's head. It is very important how I perceive that relationship and what I want to make out of that relationship. You may not love me, but you cannot stop me from loving you.
Got it. Absolutely.
Right? And you never can. And that is my emotion, and I will not allow anybody else to dictate my emotions.
Very beautifully said, Indrani.
Thank you.
And Indrani, one more, since we're talking of an emotion.
Yeah.
One emotion that you have spoken of in your book is detachment. In fact, I'll quote, it says, happiness is when you look at your own life from a detached point of view. Right. And then there is also a mention where you speak with your daughter Vidhi, and you tell her that despite my loving you, and I could also take a bullet for you, but from now on I'm detached from you. Right? What does detachment mean from your perspective?
when I was younger, and when I'm saying I was younger, I would say that even 8 years ago. 8 years ago, I was younger. So, I looked at relationships in a way where somewhere at the back of my head, I always had expectations. Okay. And expectations is what I think is another form of attachment. It is attachment, right? So the day, and it is always people who are closest to you who can hurt you, who can make you happy, and who can also hurt you because you have expectations from them, right? If you have no expectations from a person on the street you don't know, or a person who's just an acquaintance. You do, but from even a person who's an acquaintance, but the degree of expectation is much lower, right? And initially when I went into prison, for example, I was distraught, I was enraged, I went through a whole bunch of emotions that, oh my God, this is the family, this is the man I loved. I'm talking about Peter. I have spent so many years with him. I gave my entire life to him. I gave my life to his family. But he abandoned me, and his family abandoned me the moment I went into prison. Like, I've written in detail about everything in the book, why I was abandoned and how I was, more than why, how I was abandoned, I was literally, I didn't have clothes to wear. It was like to that extent, So, but I realized over a period of time that I was hurt because I had expectations. It was that. So the day I realized, and it really helped me as I started meditating and as I started interacting with people around me, the women around me. Not all of them came from privileged backgrounds, a lot of them came from very unprivileged backgrounds. So I realized, a lot of people would say that their emotions had dried up, but it was not a drying up of emotions. That is what I noticed and I realized. It was rising above the norms that are set by the world, saying that if this is what you are given, this is what you should, or this is what you give, this is what you should expect. So a lot of these women have risen above that. And they were not justifying things to themselves or to me, but a lot of people said, so how does it make a difference? You continue with what you have to do. You continue remaining a good human being because you are a good human being, and don't let anyone ever make you feel or tell you that you are not good, because you are good. And that is when kind of I started realizing over a period of time that the day I have no expectations, nobody can hurt me, but let people have expectations from me, and whatever I can fulfill, I will fulfill. But not at the cost of compromising my own sanity or peace of mind. I have also come to that. That I will do what is right, even if it upsets XYZ, because in this world, Harbinder, one thing I've realized is that you cannot please everyone. You cannot, and that is the truth. That is the essence of it.
So you don't have expectations, and you're not obligated to fulfill somebody's expectations.
I am not obligated. I'm not obliged to fulfill anybody's expectations, but as a human being, I would do whatever is best and whatever I'm able to do to the best of my capabilities for anybody. Now let me put this across, let me simplify this. Initially, I loved my children, I think a little bit more than kids who were not my children. I don't feel that way anymore. I think I could love a child on the street as much as I love my own children, and I could do as much or more for a child on the street that I could do for any of my children. I think that is the change that I have undergone during this period, because I do not believe anymore that blood is thicker than water, or anybody who is your blood child deserves more love or respect or support than anyone else. For that matter, I would say that even because in one of the interviews, somebody said, I won't mention, somebody mentioned this, that, it must be kind of quite painful for you to be accused of, this crime because it's your child. I said I would have been equally distraught if anybody accused me of a crime which would have entailed, the death of anybody, anyone, because I don't think no life is less valuable than the other. And anybody who thinks that way, I think, need to really go back to their own thought process.
Indrani, your story has been out in a different manner, and now the book brings in your perspective or the reality. And you went through tough times, and then you also saw huge success. You experienced it. And then the last couple of years have been a total turmoil. This can be very challenging for anyone, anyone who's not strong internally. Right. How did you internalize the situation? How did you have the self-belief that you will come out of this? What gave you the courage? What happened inside of you that helped you emerge strong enough to fight whatever was going?
After my arrest, when I was in prison, obviously initially I was not as strong as I became over a period of time. But there was one thing that I knew, that I was going to overcome this for two reasons. I'll tell you why. One is, I do believe that truth and justice ultimately prevails, and it may take a while, but I knew I was not in the wrong. So there was it was not going to be an easy battle. Okay, it was a war, it was not a battle. So it was never going to be easy. But having said that, I knew that I had to be strong to fight this. I had to be strong. And I'll tell you how I gathered. See, I've always been a very, very confident person. And very often, even from the time I was very young, it's not that I have never made mistakes in life. Mind you, I have made mistakes in life, because everybody does, and I think it would be rather pompous and it would be very erroneous to say that I have never made a mistake in my life. When I look back, maybe certain things I feel, perhaps I should have done this like this, or perhaps I should not have done this like this. There are moments I go through that, but having said that, essentially I feel that I have on many occasions had to bear the shame for things I had no control over. But every time I have had I have been resilient, and I have had the strength to pick myself up and run again and continue going up only because essentially I believe I am a good human being. And I believe in the goodness of human beings as well. And last but not the least, I do believe that every human being has that inner strength. And if you are in the right, you can bring out the inner strength, because you know, forget about what the world has to say, you know you are right. So you can, look in the eye and tell people that, hey, listen, this is what it really is, and don't tell me what I am, who I am, and how I should lead my life, because this is how it is going to be, and I am going to win this, and I'm going to overcome this. So there has been highs and lows, and there have been successes, there have been failures, and I very strongly believe now, as of now, the person that I am now, that irrespective, and I've made a lot of good friends even during this period of my turmoil, imprisonment. There are a lot of people to whom I've written my acknowledgements, and all these people, they have stood by me no matter what, even when people told them, hey, listen, be careful, she's got a case, there may be controversies, but they did not look back. They just stood there strong, and they stood by me. So there are people like that, and you just need one friend like that, and that's good enough, right? One person like that to stand by you. But most importantly, I think if you can, and everyone can, bring out, when you're talking about introspection, I think you need to work, reflect within yourself, in your silent moments, in solitude, not in loneliness. There is a difference in between solitude and loneliness. Okay, the day you start feeling lonely, then I think you will move towards darkness and a path of depression. You must distinguish between solitude and loneliness, because you have yourself to be with you. How can you be lonely? Solitude can be peaceful, right? So I found that solitude, and in that solitude I found the silence, because I did not have the noise from outside constantly kind of banging into my ears and my head, so which was also very useful. And even with the noise around, you can find solitude, right? That is, of course, meditation. That requires a lot of practice, which I did. And also, I think belief, it's not, I am religious also, but not essentially, you don't essentially have to be religious, but I think there is a superpower, because I felt it. I felt it when I was in prison, and every time I shut my eyes, I would see, particularly about 3-4 months before I came out, I visualized myself in my house, where I lived now. So I could almost visualize the next few years in my life. And what you talk about manifestation, because there obviously you don't keep photographs, I actually drew my home, I drew it, and I put a picture of myself there. I put it on my wall there, and when I'd wake up, open my eyes, I'd see myself there. I did that just 2 months before I got out, and it happened. It's the power of manifestation. And I packed my things, and I said, I knew I was getting out. So it is, the more you believe, the more you always have the power to turn the tables to your advantage,
So you have the power to create.
Yes.
You have the power to create.
Yes, absolutely. You can, but you have to believe in yourself. I think no matter what your circumstances are, and that is what, you see so many rape survivors, acid attack survivors, and they rebuild their lives again.
Correct. That's really a very strong message here in terms of knowing the truth, keeping your conviction alive, and that could give you the strength and the courage to create the reality that you wish to create.
Yes.
Right?
Power of manifestation.
Power of manifestation. So Indrani, a lot of us, we desire a lot of things, we want things to happen in a certain manner, and we have our own conviction about what we feel inside. But then the world may think differently, and they start talking of things which could be very different from what your reality is. Right. And this is also, you've experienced it. Yes, when the media was talking about you, there were people talking, not just accusing you, but talking about your character, etc. Yeah. And whenever people around you are speaking about you, and when most of the people around you are speaking in that same language, it impacts you, and you start becoming a skeptic. You start bringing in that element of doubt, self-doubt. Did it happen with you? And if not, what kept your conviction alive and kept you away from getting into that self-doubt?
So I believe in two things. Again, being from the media background, I do understand how media works. Okay. So when there is a controversy around you, see, firstly, you must remember something, that whether it's the media or when it is even society in general, as society at large, when you are a topic of discussion, there is, it does not matter whether it's positive or negative, but definitely you play a very important role in their lives, and most importantly in their heads, right? And what I realized, that a lot of people who did not know me also went out and had to give their 2 bits about me, because clearly I play a very, very important role in their lives and in their heads. Now, people's opinions about me, whether good or bad, a lot of people have a lot of nice things to say about me. A lot of people have a lot of bad things to say about me. So that also happens with people at the top, whether they are political leaders or business heads, or it normally happens when you are somebody important. But I believe people's opinions in their heads are their baggage. That's not my baggage, right? And I do not create baggage in my own head or my life, which is where I think I will also come to relationships. When we talk about, good relationships, failed relationships, I do believe, until and unless it is absolutely, you are with somebody because you really want to be with that person. I'm talking about myself, and this is not something that I would say to society at large, because everybody has their different beliefs of marriages. I do value and I do respect marriage as an institution. Absolutely, I do. So it would be very incorrect to say that I do not believe in marriages. No, I do. Otherwise, I would not have got married twice, right? And who knows? So, but the thing is, I also do not believe in dragging on a relationship or a marriage, whether it is a marriage or a friendship, because I have to be in it because the society says so, and because I am worried about how it is going to affect my image. Because if I can't be happy in a relationship, then if I am not happy, I don't think I can make the person who's with me happy. That is very, very, very important. At least I am built that way, right? So I would rather have a relationship with the same person as a friend from a distance, rather than being a partner or a companion and be pulling each other's hair apart and be really miserable in that relationship. So, and it is not about who's right or who's wrong. Maybe I am wrong. I'm not saying that, I am kind of wronged all the time or my partners are wrong all the time. It's not. No, with Peter, let me also clarify this, okay? With Peter, I left him because I feel he wronged me. I don't feel the same way about my first husband, and I've written that very clearly in my book, that I outgrew him, and despite all of that, I left him, and for no wrong that he had done to me, But even when I was in trouble, his entire family came and stood by me. So that is why I believe in relationships, you see. So it is, relationships is not just about blood ties and not about,
Indrani, when we start succeeding in our life, in our endeavors, in our businesses, and you've seen the highest of highs as well.
Right.
And what I want to ask you is that, do you think, in your opinion, confidence may just lead you to becoming overconfident and arrogant when you are looking at things from the top?
See, being at the top can also be very lonely. Okay, so when you're not at the top, what happens? You are with a lot of people around you who actually guide you a lot, also because they are your friends, not because who you are, but because they really care for you. But as you climb up the ladder, you also tend to, even when people advise you at times, you tend to kind of weigh all the pros and cons. That is, and when you are right at the top, also because you tend to get, you are alone. I think people at the top tend to get a little bit more arrogant. It happens. Perhaps it happened with me, not necessarily. I've always treated people very well. So that is one thing I can put my hand on my heart and say, that whether it is staff who worked for me or anybody, I've been a very warm person, always, all my life. So that I think I can say with pride, with a lot of pride and with a lot of confidence and authority. So I don't think that has, but I think yes, to an extent there can be oversights, because you try to sometimes, you tend to forget at times when you're right at the top that what goes up can also go down, that happens. Like when you go down, people forget that you can go up again. So it's a cycle. So once you have gone through that cycle, now for me, I've gone through that cycle. So now with my rise, I will always remember what it is to be at the bottom, because I had reached absolutely the rock bottom. I had because my reputation was shredded to pieces. Actually, it's not so much, I don't think the reputation bit really bothered me. I am a woman and I have been successful. I have never hidden my ambitious streak. I have been married more than once, and all of this is of course criminal, right? It is an offense to be, and then of course to top it all, if you are attractive, that makes it even worse, right? So which is why when I started being on social media, and the reason I want to talk to you about this, this is very important. I came onto social media. I was never a social media person. I came onto social media just 2 months ago, which is on the 1st of June, because everyone said, listen, in the next few months, I was expecting actually my book to launch much later, but anyway, I think HarperCollins did a fantastic job and it launched well before time. So they said that I think you need to get on to social media because you need to start getting people to know who you are and what you do. Give them an insight about your life now. And when I started, because initially I started posting videos of my travel, my activities as I was advised, And then I said, hey, listen, hang on. This is all great, I am kind of showing my travel photos, my travel videos, my kickboxing, my yoga. I said, but, and obviously on social media, initially people are seeing this woman who's like really active, kickboxing, this, that, and a lot of this thing. I said, but I need people to know that I have spent 6.5 years in prison. And then my PR team said, no, you can't do that. You can't put that out on social media. I said, I will. Because I said, I want everybody to know. And this is what I said, I don't want, because it is not something I want to go away, because this is a constant reminder to me. Albeit 6 years, when you look at the larger scheme of things, if you live for 75 years, 6 years is a very tiny portion of your life. And the view was that as kind of you start posting things, all your earlier things will get pushed back behind, and your new life comes out in the social media space. I said, I don't think that is the kind of life I want to lead, because that is not me. I said, what I have gone through, whether it is my allegations, whether it's the good times I've had, whether it's my allegations, whether it is the time I spent in prison and the life I'm leading right now, I said, I will wear all of that as a badge. And I will wear it on my sleeve, I will wear it on my collar, and this is how the world has to know me, because this is my strength, this is not my weakness. And that is what makes me stronger.
Absolutely.
Because I realize that a lot of people who come out of prison or who go through a controversy never ever want to talk about it. It is hidden somewhere, and it is kind of, they pretend that has never happened in their lives, or they never want to talk about it in an interview. And why not?
So you didn't want to play the victim card, you rather wanted to come out stronger.
Absolutely. And good part is, and I want to tell you about the good part in this, that in fact I started getting many more followers on Instagram, and a lot of people coming out really appreciating, because I put out 3 posts just talking about my life in prison. That's it. And then everyone was like, oh my God, you went to prison. And I obviously started responding that yes, and this is what it is. And I said that if you do not know more about me, you just go to the internet. A lot of it is rubbish, but I want you to know, and after that you decide whether you want to follow me or not.
Right.
And then their families started following me. It was very interesting. You know, it is almost like turning a crisis into an opportunity, like the Chinese do. No, I didn't turn a crisis into an opportunity. That is an incorrect statement. I'm just saying it as it's more a pun, but it's kind of, you know, that I think one needs to be very, very proudly, and this is really a message I want to give out to everyone, that you need to embrace your failures and your successes, your victories, your downfalls with equal pride and with equal conviction and belief that you learn from your mistakes, you better your successes.
Right. And you share it with the world.
Yes, you share it with the world.
You share your learnings. I think, you know, what I hear is that rather than playing a victim card, you chose to bring your authentic self out.
Absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely.
So, Indrani, what have the last few years done to you? How have you evolved as a person that you are today?
See, I think we evolve constantly, whether it is, I think everybody evolves all the time, and you don't have to do time in prison to evolve. I think you can evolve otherwise, because I do believe, and I strongly believe this, that change is the only constant in your life. You know, the world around you changes, you as a person change, the things that you want or like when you are 19 are very different from what you like and want at 29 or at 39 or at 49. Everything changes. I think overall for me, my time in prison, okay, per se, has given me an opportunity to mingle with people who come from all different walks of life. Some of them are really into crime. Some of them are habitual criminals. Some of them are not. A lot of people in prison are innocent. I have also been in the corporate world and been right at the top. And that has also been a very different experience. I have seen cutthroat competition, which exists, because I think you cannot succeed all the time, you know, if you just play your cards very, very right. So there is gray everywhere, and it is not just in prison. I think only people who get caught go to prison, the others don't. But I don't think anybody is washed with milk. That is something I can tell you. But it is like, I'm talking more on the financial side when I'm talking about people who get caught, right? But it's interesting. I think all human beings are essentially very complex by nature, and the more you get to know them, the more you realize that the simplest of human beings can be very complex. And the simplest, the person who looks like absolutely a complete simpleton, also can have issues in their heads. And in fact, just a few days ago, I was talking to my youngest child. She's going to be 26 now. And she was a little bit kind of disturbed about something. You know, she was talking about something back in Spain. She studies in Spain. So I was telling her, you know, I was looking at her, and when I in fact left, she was still a minor, and now she's of course blossomed to be a beautiful woman. And I told her, I said, you know what? I said, I am amazed at I think she's got my resilience and my strength, the kind of woman you have turned out to be, because I think you have held yourself really, really very well. And despite, because sometimes on and off she tells me that, Mom, I feel so horrible that the time when you really needed me, I could not be by your side. I did not have the strength. I said, no, I think you've done very well, because at the end of the day, you did come and stand by me. And that is what is important, because you did, I think, realize where you went wrong. And the realization is the biggest victory, that is the victory. And I said, people from children, I think this is when we are talking about change, how we evolve.
Yes.
I said, even from a child from a very, very normal background, when I'm saying normal, where the parents haven't gone to prison, let's put normal as that. And there is no normal family also, but we are talking about, I said, even there, I said there could be one child who is so depressed because he did not get the Beamer or the Mercedes that he wanted because his father refused to pay for it. And then he goes into a downward spiral, and then he gets into drugs, or he gets into, because that is the biggest problem for him, right? So everybody has their issues, and I think you've done really, really well. So I think, yes, so I have evolved, I think, to the point where I have learned to treat all human beings from all walks of life as equals, irrespective of blood ties, wealth, gender, sexual preferences, and most importantly, what the world perceives them to be, and their professions.
So, Indrani, I can sense a little bit of a spiritual side of you right now when you speak about relationships, how you have evolved, how you see your children evolving. Is there some kind of a spiritual journey that took on to you when all the material things around us, as we perceive them to be material, were away when you were in the jail? Did it invoke some kind of an inward journey?
Could be, but I don't think, honestly. Initially, I found it a little bit difficult to sleep on the floor because, at home we are used to sleeping in a comfortable temper, memory foam mattresses. So initially I found that was the only thing I found a little bit tough, sleeping on the floor, but till I got used to it. And then when I came out, I found it difficult to sleep on the mattress. Human beings adapt. But for some strange reason, everyone thought I was going to miss the creature comforts. I did not. So perhaps my inward spiritual journey perhaps had already taken place even before I went to prison, and which was a big realization for me, because it was, even I saw people who did not come from backgrounds as privileged as I did, people were missing out on the creature comforts. I did not. Like, I found no difficulty in having the prison food or just living in 4 sets of clothes. I was very happy, actually, in a funny kind of way. I found peace. It's maybe because the outside noise was shut and I finally had time to myself, that kind of gave me the opportunity to internalize my own thoughts and give time to myself. And but I don't think any not having material things ever bothered me in prison, ever. So, but I do believe, I think my journey started, and it's a very strange thing. I think I do have a sixth sense which is much stronger than most people, because just before my arrest I was in Spain. I had actually traveled from Spain, and 2 weeks before that, and I just thought that I must have seen something in some web show or something which I must have dreamt of. I had dreamt, it was almost like a vision, it wasn't a full dream. I had dreamt of the prison door of my cell. But obviously I didn't know that I was going to go in through that prison door, right? And it was almost very, very similarly, before I came out, I had those visions of, and I have visions of being back at home. And I had very interesting visions also in prison of actually, being in a very far away place also, which is somewhere maybe in the mountains or something. Maybe I'll go there someday. I don't know. It's a very, very, and I keep having that vision even now. Even now. So it's a very kind of,
it sounds like the law of attraction.
Yes.
Taking place.
But I must tell you something, I'm a much happier person now.
Right.
A much happier person than I was before I went to prison, before 8 years ago. I can tell you that. In fact, sometimes, when my younger daughter, she gets, how youngsters are, sometimes they kind of can get irritated and this thing. And then after some time, she tells me, Mom, I feel very bad after that because you don't even react anymore, And I try to kind of get a reaction out of it. I want you to get annoyed because I think I have made peace with myself and my own emotions. So I think I'm a happier person.
Indrani, with that, I want to come to the last question that I have for you. And that is that, since you say that you're now a happier person, what's next? And is there some newer, larger purpose that you have been able to, identify for yourself, which could become the why for the journey ahead?
See, I am doing a couple of things. One is I would like to rehabilitate as many underprivileged women as I can. Now my target is to kind of try and rehabilitate about 400 women in the next 12 months. And my first program starts this 19th. And I'm in fact going to send you an invite. See if you can come. It'll be interesting to just watch these people. So there'll be women who have come out from prison, either on bail or, they've got acquitted. Then women who have been abandoned, and women who really kind of need some form of vocational training so that they can stand on their feet, they can support themselves and their families. All right. So that is, and I have received actually a lot of support from a local party worker in Bombay. His name is Arjun Meghe. He's a party worker for the BJP, and he's like helping me with the entire infrastructure, everything, which has been very, very kind, really. And this is with an NGO called Insaniyat. And so I'm really looking forward to that. That is one part of it. And it doesn't, initially I'm planning to start this off with women, but it could, over a period of time, I would perhaps extend it to teenagers who are in orphanages and who are reaching that stage where they have to leave the orphanages, right? And they need to support themselves. The second thing that I am doing is I am continuing because I'm really I've enjoyed writing this book, not just because I have spoken about my life. I know I have written it in a very high school essay style, which is a very easy read for everybody, because I want people to be able to read it and not put the book down and not find it a hard read. It has to be an easy read, right? And which is what I've done, that even when an 18-year-old picks up this book, can read it, so it doesn't have to be always a scientist or the most literary genius who can understand my book. Everybody has to be able to understand. So I am writing my second book, which I will not talk about right now because I'll talk about it when it gets published. So which is also very interesting. I have also found a lot of interest in fitness activities. I do kickboxing. I've been doing yoga for the last 25 years, but now I enjoy kickboxing more as a physical thing, but what I have found love in, that I'll tell you, is dancing. And when I came out, I started learning dance with Dr. Sandeep Sopakar. He's a very well-known choreographer, and he's brilliant. And initially, I did not know. I always knew I could dance, but I had never trained for it, right? And after a couple of lessons, I could see it on his face that he believed I could dance, even though he didn't tell me that. And he's a very strict teacher. So, but over a period of time, one fine day he said that, you are a good dancer. You are a natural dancer. And now for me, I look forward to every dance lesson. Now I'm in fact training with more than one person, and I dance 6 days a week. I dance for about an hour and a half every day, and in the mornings I do my yoga and kickboxing and all. But I would really like to take up dance very seriously. I would like to promote dance also as an art, because I think dance still has not got the kind of platform that is needed in India. I feel that whether it's classical, whether it's Western, because dance can be very liberating, Dancing makes me happy, when you dance when you're happy. That's why they say dance with joy. When you're sad, you don't dance. And I think this dancing has, brought out that inner happiness. Peace is one thing. I found that peace when I was in prison. But that inner happiness, I think, has come out because of dancing. And I know I'm 51, but I think, if I can train to become a really good dancer, maybe someday I would be very thrilled to even take it up professionally. So I've done everything, so why not? And I think one should really respect dance, because dance is and I'm a very free-spirited person, and dance is all about freedom, right? So
no, it's very beautiful, Indrani. Thank you so much for talking to me. Some of the things that I kind of got from the conversation that we've had is that, one, nothing is permanent. The only thing constant is the change that happens, whether it is the situation, environment, or the person. I mean, people evolve. You evolve to be someone that you probably never thought of, some time ago. Relationships, the meaning of relationships could change, but relationships matter.
yes, absolutely. And you don't need a signed document to maintain that relationship.
Yes.
That is what I believe in.
Absolutely. And last but not the least, at every point in time, whether it has been the challenges that you faced as a teenager, the success that you experienced while you were in the media business, or the challenges that you faced, or the people that you met in the jail, or what you're doing right now, is an outcome of conviction in yourself, determination that gives you the courage to fight things, and underlying all of this is the big why, the purpose that you find in doing what you're doing. So thank you so much. I mean, these are the things that I could take away from this conversation.
Thank you so much. And I also want you to add on, maybe not in this, but in this thing. When we talk about relationships, yes, in my book I have written how upset I am about Peter, right? And because I am not anymore. But having said that, tomorrow if there is a situation, and this is what when you define a relationship, that tomorrow if Peter's 17 years older than me, if he's ever ill and he does not have anyone to take care of him, I would go and nurse him. I would do it. So that is not the time I'm going to turn around and say, listen, you abandoned me, so you suffer. I won't do that.
Absolutely. In fact, you spoke about it initially, that one of the things that defined your expression towards a relationship that had not worked earlier, I mean, when you spoke about your father, is forgiveness.
Yes.
You know, so that's a very powerful thought.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So thank you so much, Indrani.
Thank you so much. It was really nice actually talking to you, and you are very good actually with interviews. You're
Thank you
very,
so much,
very good.
Indrani. Thank you so much.
Yeah.